Welcome to the Good Grief Believer podcast. I'm your host, Julie Craig, and I am happy to be here today with Dr. Camelia L. Clarke, who with her husband, Marcel Clarke, are the directors of the Paradise Memorial Funeral Home that serves the greater Milwaukee community. Thank you so much for being here today with me.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm so excited to have this amazing conversation.
Oh, do you like to be called Dr. Clarke? Do you go by Camelia?
Whatever you feel comfortable with is fine with me.
Oh, that puts so much pressure on me because it's so much work what you have to do.
Let's go by the doctor since this is a professional platform.
I love
outside a professional platform, it's just Camelia. But since this is
yes,
professional, we'll do the doctor.
Okay, well, when we meet up at Starbucks, it's going to be Camelia, right?
That's right. Camelia or mom or cheer mom.
Oh, I love it. How many kids do you have?
I have four amazing children. So I'll touch on that. Oh, really?
Yeah, yes. That's a good number.
It is.
Well, Dr. Clarke and I were connected through the same organization that connected me up with Walker Posey. And we had a wonderful conversation about funerals, memorials, really taking the time to celebrate each person's life. And I loved that conversation. And I'm so excited about this conversation that you and I are going to have about social and media etiquette relating to death and funerals. This is a big topic that affects people, particularly people who are grieving. And I am grateful for your background and understanding and expertise in this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me. So would you please start with giving us a life sketch, a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Well, I have been in the death care profession going on 30 years now. And so I started off at the age of 18, and you always hear that this is a calling, and it truly is a calling. I am the person that can really validate that it's a ministry, because you just can't do it for any other reason, because you won't survive and you won't make it, because it's such an emotional gift that you're giving of yourself all the time to individuals and even to yourself personally. I'm a member of the National Funeral Directors Association, and I've been a member of this particular association about the same time. I am a long-term resident of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we serve the amazing greater Milwaukee community and all the surrounding areas. I am married to my fantastic husband. He's a gentle giant. And we have 4 amazing children. My oldest son, he'll be 30 in 2 weeks. And then I have a daughter. She just turned 27. And then we have a senior in high school. And we are just enjoying her last moments in high school. We're preparing her for college. And then our last one is 11 years old, and she just started middle school. So you might be thinking, we'll never retire.
That's right. You'll be surrounded by kids for such a big part of your time. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes. And then our son is in the profession with us. So we are so fortunate to have made it to the second generation. And I'm just so incredibly thankful to be able to have this platform to talk about grief, because and social media and the etiquette of it, because it affects everyone every day, whether it's a close death or whether it's second or third tears away from you. So thank you so much for having this platform to have this conversation, Julie.
Oh, you're welcome. And I am very, very grateful for you to share and have this important conversation with me.
Thank you.
So you shared about getting into the funeral profession and that it felt like a calling to you. That's amazing. I
Yes, yes.
I can tell you my own experience with my husband's funeral was, it's interesting. It's the most vulnerable, intimate experience that you have with somebody at that period of time, and the people that we worked with could not have been more
Yeah,
gracious and kind, and just everything that we needed. It's so hard when you're the one sitting on, at that table
yeah.
trying to choose a casket. And we ended up we ended up choosing a casket that reminded us of one of his favorite pairs of shoes.
Yes.
we, we looked through these, you're just looking through pages of caskets, and we're like, hey, that looks like a pair of his leather shoes that we could see him wearing. And so that felt appropriate, and just a way for us to show our love to him.
And that's what it's all about, with finding even at the most minuscule memory. You may not think at that point in time um, what that memory is going to do, or that funeral decision is going to do to aid you in your grieving and your healing journey. And so I always say take every moment, and the professional that you work with, the funeral professional, need to be able to have this, the same conversation with you to help you guide you through the choices so that you can continue on a healthy grieving journey. Now, I started in a profession when, ironically, from a career fair at the age of 14 years old, with
Wow.
a conversation by chance with a funeral director that came to my school, and I had a by chance conversation with him, and I never forgot that. So if you take that memory now, that 5 minute conversation, intimate, just like you said, during your husband's um, arrangement process, you remember those moments, and that
Yeah.
moment with him was enough to shape my life. And that is what we want to do. We want to have those conversations just like you had with shaping your life,
Yes.
so that that then starts a healthy healing journey. So I'm so incredibly thankful for that gentleman with having that conversation with me, because it never left my mind.
That
And I
amazes me.
explored everything else. I was in a technical school, and I took auto shop, I took CAD shop, I took interior design, I took jewelry making, I took cabinet making,
Right.
and nothing worked. And but when I went to mortuary science and started on that trajectory, I knew I was right in the right place.
I love that you had such a broad interest, as you came around to it, because what a great way to relate with anybody who walks through your door. They all have these different life experiences, and there's some way that you can connect with
Yes.
anybody.
Yes, I can talk about the one time I was in auto shop and tried to put a whole engine together. I'm like, why did you all let me in this class?
Right.
I hope no one ever drives this engine that we as students put together.
Yes. That's funny. But then I'm sure you've had people involved in the car business come through your
Oh,
door,
yes.
and and what a way to lighten the moment, or have a connection with them.
Yes.
And I love that. I was One of the questions I was going to ask you when you talked about your children was whether or not any of them had, or what they thought about the family business.
Well, they have grown up in the family business. My son was 8, he was a couple months old when I started. And, if I was on call and I needed to come to work, I brought him right there and I set him there. If I had to go on the service, I put him on this little suit, and because
Oh,
services happen, and I would get
yes.
the approval of the family and say, "Hey, this is a
Yeah.
Saturday," and he'd
Yes.
sit there, and so he learned early on funeral etiquette. And but my husband and I, we never wanted to, because this is such a, I believe, such a intimate and such a life changing profession, that I don't think that second or third generation individuals should come into the profession if this is not what they want to do.
Right.
Because it will, if you don't have the right person, in my professional experience and
Mhm.
my opinion, I believe that it can complicate possibly someone's grief journey, and we as
Yeah.
professional want to make sure that grief journey is healthy. And so initially he didn't think that he wanted to be in the profession, but so he tried out several professions, and he just kept coming back, and he just said, Mom, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
This is where everything that I've done, I can do it. But when I wake up and don't want to go to work, I'm going because that's my obligation. But that's not my passion. That's not my calling. And so we're so incredibly thankful that he found that passion himself. He identified it. And when I say he's thriving, he is absolutely thriving. And we know our second generation is going to be in excellent hands with him.
I love that. And I can't help but connect that he grew up being exposed
Hmm.
to these moments in people's lives and how meaningful it can be for the one who is grieving to have the relationship that you are providing. For him to see that, to see how it affects a family, how it affects an individual, I love that has brought him into where he is today. That's the
Yeah.
person I would want to interact with.
Yes. Yes,
Some
absolutely.
right. So it's interesting. It's such a contrast. Your son having been exposed to years and years and years of watching people grieve, learning funeral etiquette
Mhm.
and grief etiquette. It's interesting what a contrast that is to the world that we live in, where everything, the most intimate thoughts and
Mhm.
experiences are broadcast on platforms that do a lot of good, but
Yeah,
also are really intrusive
right.
to a person's grief. And so that's what we are going to speak to. And on your website, paradise memorialfuneralhome.com, you have this wonderful resource of the principles of social media etiquette relating to death and funerals.
Mhm.
Could we talk about those? Your the three principles and the do's and don'ts that
Um, yeah. Yes. Um, I think the main one of the main principles. So today we're in a world to where information travels probably faster than the speed of light. And I think we, um, as a society, has worked very hard to get to this amazing place. But now that we're in an amazing place, it has really changed and altered some of our norms that are different. Whereas you go back 20, 30 years ago, even 10 years ago, someone passed away, you are going to their house, taking them some food, ringing that doorbell, sitting down with them, holding their hand, and most people are close to you, and it's communal. So now you have this communal grieving that's very intimate, and everyone knows this person. Now that's changed. Okay, about 10 years ago, now you're going to send a text message. Okay, and you may or may not show up at the door with some food again. And let's bring it to today. And it's just how these norms have evolved. It's going to be reported on social media. It's not about if, it's about a matter about when. And sometimes things are reported in real time. And when you have grief, grief grief happens in stages, and there's no set stage for where you are. But what I can share from my experience, the moment someone loses grief, there's usually always this acceptance portion, or still a state of shock. And so it's mom has been with me all my life, right? Mom is 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. She is no longer here like I know that she is here. So I need a moment to process that. And sometimes with social media, that step is skipped because then it is placed on social media. Now, the good thing is sometimes that with different individuals' grieving journey, that's good because they want that communal support. And a lot of times it depends on the manner of the death. Was it expected? Was it anticipated? Was it a traumatic death? Was it unexpected? And so it's just really about taking your time and letting a family lead,
Mm.
because the family they deserve the space to share their death, share the death in their own time when they're ready. And they absolutely will do it because
Right.
they know that social media is a part of this journey, but giving them a moment to do that. So just really never post an announcement before the immediate family does, because it really can cause unnecessary pain, or it could complicate their grief. And so just kind of get their permission to do that. Um,
Obviously, you've seen this happen.
mhm.
Can you share an example and how that affected
I
the
absolutely,
family?
I absolutely can. Um, I'm a funeral professional, and that does not mean I'm immune. This same situation happened to me. We lost my nephew. He died of suicide. 19 years old, an amazing young man. Um, he was like virtually a genius, and he was going to go to the Navy and work in their. He had been recruited by the Navy to work in their nuclear engineering program. So he
That's
just
a
was.
big deal.
It's an extreme big deal. So just an amazing, quiet child. We did not see this coming, and we got the news that, and he was in Ohio and we're in Wisconsin. We got the news at 10 o'clock at night that he was gone. He died. We didn't have the whys, we didn't have the whats. And kid you not, 10:15, it was circulating all on social media. And ironically, it's usually a close family member, at least in our case,
Mhm.
that put it on social media. And so we had to call her and say, please take that down. We are designating a family spokesperson. And so now instead of grieving, we're now in crisis mode.
Right, right.
So it wasn't that we weren't gonna place that announcement. It just came too fast and too soon, and not by the right person.
Yeah, and
And
now the whole focus and emphasis is on suicide rather than
yeah,
on this beautiful son,
yes,
grandson, nephew.
yes, and that complicated things. And so we're in again crisis mode. Let's stop this
Mm.
and try. So again, I would say number two, just respect the privacy and seek consent. And not everything needs to be public, okay?
Mhm.
And before sharing like any photos, memories, or any details online, again, ask the permission from the closest next of kin, to avoid posting anything that isn't already shared by the family.
I love that. It's so interesting when because traditionally a family did have a spokesperson, right?
Mm-hmm.
The family, there would be somebody that would man the phones take the call so that the immediate people involved could grieve and not have to be answering 50
Yep. Mm-hmm.
questions. But it's interesting when everyone has access to social media,
Mm-hmm.
just somebody takes it upon themselves to do what used to be a really sacred trust.
Yeah. Yeah. And
You-
that was, and I think one of the, and again, I think social media etiquette and grief, I think it's an amazing thing. It's a tool, and we just need to know how to use it. And so I'm so
yes.
incredibly thankful for this platform to have this conversation. And one of the things that social media platforms, they absolutely can bring comfort and connection, but there's also this risk of performative grief. And
Yeah.
are
Talk
you
about that.
so are are you posting? Well, grieving online should really be authentic. It should be respectful. It should be centered on the family's wishes. And and if we keep that in mind, then we can avoid performative grief. And what performative grief is, are we doing this for the family? Are we doing this being genuine? Or am I doing this for myself to get likes,
Mhm.
to get recognition? And it's really interesting because as a funeral professional, we just if you take me back 15, 20 years ago, you would have never thought, this would have been inconceivable. And so I think just with people asking themselves, why am I doing this? If why do I feel the need to be the first to post, especially if I'm not the wife, I'm not the child, I'm not sister, brother, niece, auntie, grandparents, I'm not best friend of 50 years. And if you're removed because you heard the information, are you engaging in performative grief?
Right, right. Exactly. And then it's a question of maybe looking back into yourself and seeing, why do I feel a need to step into this sacred space the way I'm doing it?
Mm-hmm.
If it's to turn back the attention to yourself,
Right.
that's really tough, especially in circumstances um, where there's trauma
Yeah.
involved, where somebody has died violently or
Mm-hmm.
shockingly, or I've been shocked at the amount of online chatter regarding some of the recent really public
Yes.
deaths,
Yes.
and the comments that people will make about another human being
Mm-hmm.
who has, grieving wife,
Mm-hmm.
children that will grow up without a father,
Mm-hmm.
or a mother, or those kinds of things. It's I again, like with you, I'm grateful that we're having this conversation, because it's interesting. These kind of things can be hard just when you're dealing with somebody face to face, but then when you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the rest of the world,
Mm-hmm.
I know of a situation where even within one family, um, the children had a different take on their father's passing.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the children were posting online things that the other children absolutely didn't agree with.
Mm-hmm. And
And
that happens all the time with um you may have, an earlier set of children or a younger set of children. And so the family dynamics can complicate um, social media etiquette norms as well.
right, right. And anytime that you are adding grief to someone who is grieving, you're in the wrong space. Would you agree with
Yes.
that?
Oh gosh, I couldn't I couldn't say that better. Sometimes there's no other way to say it. You're just not in the right space.
Right, right. People say the most insensitive things
Yes.
sometimes to someone who is grieving, and then you add the extra layer of, you know, publishing it to the world. Oh my
Right.
goodness.
I think when we have an individual, a individual non-public death, first of all, when you have a death, there are norms across the board. But then when you have a public death, there are norms for that as well, because the family, this person devoted their lives to the public and being a public person. And so if you are going, I'll never forget when Whitney Houston passed away. We got the notice, we got the, via online that she passed away. And I personally participated in that, the online grief, by posting a photo. But this was after the official announcement that the family made, her spokesperson made. And then I posted rest in, we love you forever,
Right,
um, Whitney Houston, because her contribution to music was just great. Okay.
right,
And
right.
so even then, there was no online, I wonder, how did she die? I'm sorry. I wish you had gotten help. And it's the same thing for our public figures, whether they are polarizing or whether they're entertainers, whether they're the president, whether
Mhm.
they are the CEO of an organization. There are still norms because this person was an individual. And so the things that you risk when you go ahead and you do not humanize this person, you risk even complicating that family's grief even more.
Yes.
And so I think just having a set norm for social media and having this platform that we're having, so individuals will know, okay, even though that person is a public figure, I still should govern myself accordingly. Whatever my beliefs are, we're not saying change your beliefs. We're saying
Right.
have that conversation in person
Yes,
with whomever you
yes.
want to have it with. Let's not put it
Right.
on this digital platform because this person was a person, and just
And
respect that.
that's what it comes down to, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
recognizing the dignity and the humanity of each person,
Mm-hmm.
no matter their background, their beliefs, their influence. And that can be that's a very good standard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like in your privacy and consent principles. Principle one is for privacy and consent.
Mm-hmm.
I love that in your dues you say allow the family to grieve privately if they choose to do
Yeah.
so. The
Yeah.
family is not obligated to share any information on or off social media.
No.
And if the
No.
family chooses to remember or celebrate the loved one privately, you must respect their wishes.
You must. And that wasn't you should. You must respect their wishes.
Yes,
I
yes,
just heard you talk about the story with your husband and how you saw a casket and said, this casket, we can't pick a casket, it's so many choices, but this casket reminds me of his shoes. And so
right.
you're still talking about this memory now. So again, whoever, whatever, when you made that decision, whoever was must accept that decision on how you want to remember him. And I think if
Yeah.
we do that, I think it'll be a healthy grieving process for first level individuals, meaning the closest family next of kin,
Mhm.
second levels, the cousins and the best friends, and then the third level, which is really the public. Because it doesn't mean that we're not all grieving, but
Right.
we have to accept the fact that our daily life, if we're not first line next of kin, our daily life is not going to change. Their daily life changes. So we
Forever.
must respect what it takes for them to coexist and establish a new norm. And again,
I love
that's
that.
privacy.
I love that. And the thing about that principle is that that can be applied across every aspect of life, not just about a person's death.
Yes.
Just that is real compassion and kindness
Mm-hmm.
and sensitivity
Mm-hmm.
to another person's life.
Yes. Yes.
I love that. Another do is share funeral details respectfully. If the
Yes.
family has made the funeral details public, you may share them,
Yes.
right? And that's not limited just to the funeral details. Any information. One of the parts of my platform, when I send out the information to somebody that I'm going to interview, and this is from my own experience, I I tell them that our purpose is to provide insight, into how someone has grieved well, but that the we are not focusing or dwelling on the manner of someone's death,
Mm-hmm.
because the manner of someone's death it does not define their life and their value,
Oh,
even though
yes.
certain deaths can be very difficult because they are traumatic or tragic
Right.
or unexpected. And not everybody has the experience. As a matter of fact, for me, it's a little trigger when I see in obituaries surrounded by their loving friends and loving family, because my husband was not surrounded by his loving family when he
Oh,
passed
yeah.
away. Right? I
Yeah.
I was so surprised
Yeah.
when he passed, and I was the one who discovered,
Oh,
that he had passed away. None of our family was living at home, and even though he had been sick, I didn't think that was his
right.
last day on earth. So I hated that question. How did he die? Did he have cancer?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it shocked me how prevalent that question was. Like, it was the
Mm-hmm.
first thing out of people's mouths.
How did he die?
How did he die? And because revisiting that over and
Mm-hmm.
over and over again was so painful for me,
Mm-hmm.
it became something in my mind that I have made a very conscious effort to not be the first part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of "I'm so sorry for your loss."
Mm-hmm.
It's such a painful experience to lose someone you love. You know.
And that's what people want. Like, you can't bring my loved one back. You can't fix my grief. I just want you to just acknowledge it
Mhm.
and just be in that moment and in that presence. And that means
Yes.
so much.
Right. 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 And we can be voyeuristic when it comes to death,
Mm-hmm.
and that's unfortunate. You talk also, another principle is about emotional well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that as it pertains to dealing with someone who is grieving, and particularly in a social media realm?
So I think the emotional well being of the individual that is grieving, we again I always go back to the healthy grieving journey. We want to do everything that we can do to help this person on a healthy grieving journey, because if they get stuck in that journey and not able to navigate through it, that's going to impact their emotional well-being from a physiological standpoint, from a mental health standpoint, and that's detrimental to their health. And so when we're talking about emotional well-being, we just want to make sure that we're not complicating things for them, that we want to make sure that whatever support that they need, whether or not we're utilizing empathetic and genuine language when we talk to them. I've heard moms who have come in that's had a stillborn and was just so angry because they're like, my loved ones told me, oh, you can just have another baby.
Yes.
And it's like, no, this is my baby. I'm grieving that I no longer have this baby, my baby that I carry, and I'm grieving for the life that they're not going to have. And all of um, my wishes for this child, my dreams for this child, it's never going to come through. And so I think just using empathetic and genuine language, people are, again, it's okay to just say, I'm sorry for your loss. And then I've also heard the stories from adults who said, well, when I was two, they said grandma died and she went on into the sky and she went to heaven and she's gone. Now, this child now is, their emotional well being is complicated, their grief is complicated, and sometimes that complicates their faith, if they have a
Yes.
faith, because now they're
Yes.
angry and don't understand, whereas that adult was doing what they could do to help their pain at that moment. And so I think just replacing they're in a better place with simple and honest words like you said earlier, I am so sorry for your loss. I am here for you.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
then understanding that their emotional well-being is supported going beyond the funeral. Grief
Yes.
continues long after the funeral, long beyond the first post. And
Yes.
just understanding, helping them to live in and embrace their emotional well-being when that 1 year anniversary come and they share that memory online. That's the time right there, because you're
Yes.
taking their lead. And then I can't say this enough. Say their name.
Yes.
Say their name. I'm sorry that Johnny is no longer here with you.
Mhm.
That year come about and they're posting that social medias. Oh, Johnny was a great fisher. Johnny was a
Yeah.
great, hunter. Say their
Yes.
names, because what happens is their emotional well-being is forever changed, and they live with that loved one every day in their heart,
Right.
every moment. You
They
can
are
be walking
real.
down, they're real. You
Yeah.
can be walking down the street and like, is that my mom? Oh, it's not. She looks like my mom, because it's that
Mhm.
longing. So just validate that their life mattered and
Yes.
it's real.
Right. The person didn't just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
I know in my mother's generation, one of the most painful experiences that she has shared, and I think it was very common from a child perspective, someone passed away and every reminder of them was removed from the house.
Mm-hmm.
All the pictures
Yep.
taken down. And for whoever was grieving at the time, apparently that seemed to solve some issue for them, not to
Mm-hmm.
be reminded. But for my mother, it was, she had two siblings who had passed away at different
Oh,
times, and they were just extricated from her life, in
yeah.
every way, all the clothing removed, and that did complicate her grief, and I saw how it affected her
Mm-hmm.
throughout her life, even to this day. You
Mm-hmm.
can you can witness the complication of them being erased,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
and that, yeah,
And I would say that is one of the fantastic things about social media is you post those memories and you tag people, and those memories are going to show up until you're no longer on that platform.
that's
And even
right.
when you're no longer on that platform, whoever tagged that individual, those memories come up. And so I think that's one amazing positive benefit of social media and grief, because it allows your loved one's life to continue on and to be acknowledged. And even with my nephew, it's 10 years now. I I love getting the memories because it
Yes.
validates his life mattered. He lived.
Right.
And it just brings such a smile. And when I share it, the individuals that are commenting on the post, it, it just brings a communal grief. We're all together,
Right.
and we're able to celebrate and remember and acknowledge that his life mattered. And
Right.
so I think that individuals now will have a different experience. So even with the child now, if that happens, the child now will still be able to, hopefully in some cases, grow up and just experience some of those memories, whether or not it's their friends and extended friends and family on social media, but definitely when they connect, someone's going to share a memory, and hopefully they can hold that close to heart for them.
Absolutely. That's such a good point. I have a friend whose husband passed away when their baby was just a few months old, and her whole knowledge of her father is through other people's memories.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what a powerful way to honor her
Mm-hmm.
and help her to know what a wonderful dad
Yeah.
she had. But you can see where it can be used for good or for pain. Why post things that are going to be painful,
Right.
you know
Right.
to
And I,
someone?
I don't necessarily think individuals. I think individuals again take taking us back to this performative grief,
Right. Right.
this resurface phenomena. I think if individuals are cognizant, and if individuals just put themselves in the shoes of the person that is grieving at that moment, they would absolutely move differently.
Yes.
So that, and then
Yes.
I think having platforms like this to make sure that these conversations are had, because a
Yes.
lot of the topics that we're talking about, sometimes people like, I never really even thought about that. What are the norms?
Yes. Yes. It's so true. When I met my late husband, he actually was widowed. And so he had been widowed young. His wife was 31. They had
Oh
two little children, and one of the things that fascinated me about him was that he had been through such a difficult thing, and yet there was this softness and goodness and kindness about him rather than bitterness. And that
hmm
fascinated me. I wanted to know how you go through something like that and arise such a wonderful person. And it's true, the experiences that he had really did um, develop compassion in him. But the benefit for me was that we were having these conversations for 25 years.
Oh
and
wow.
and I really feel like that helped me a lot in my own grief, because
Mm.
as I experienced the grief of losing him, I would stop and say, Steve told me about this. This is he talked
Oh.
about this. And it was very, very comforting to me. So I guess my point is, having a conversation
Mm-hmm.
around death, passing, mortality, it's good for us
Mm-hmm.
as individuals. It's good for people to become familiar with this. This is day every day for you, and
Right.
you are so comfortable speaking about
Yes.
death, funerals, grief, and I think that I feel like it was a great blessing for me in my grief, because it had been a conversation that had been ongoing.
That's so powerful because a lot of times those conversations are not had. It is not had, and it grief can really storm you.
Right.
I was talking to one of our team members yesterday, and he just lost his grandpa, and he was just telling me, he said, listen, I was in do mode. I'm arranging a service. He's passed away out of town. So
Oh,
I'm arranging the services, he said, and I was really kind of numb. He says, I'm like, I can get through this. If this is how I'm going to feel, I can get through this. And then he said, at the end of the service, when he was getting ready to close everything down, because he's a minister as well,
yeah.
he said he just had the sharpest pain in his chest. And he said it was so sharp, I almost like passed out. And he said, I had no idea that grief was physical.
Yes.
He said, my grief was physical. And I said, yes, grief is physical. Grief is emotional. Grief is takes toll on your mental health. And so that's why it's so important to have a healthy grieving journey. And that's why I shared when we talked about emotional well-being, because if it's emotional well-being is not okay, and you have something like not the proper social media etiquette being a trigger to him,
Yes.
now it's become physical. And
Yes.
so we don't want to complicate the bereaved's grief journey.
Absolutely. This is such a valuable conversation. I I am really grateful that we've been talking about these principles.
Mm-hmm.
You let's touch a little bit on principle 3, sensationalism and exploitation. So we've talked about privacy and consent, emotional well-being, and it's been sprinkled into the conversation, this sensationalism and exploitation. I'm just going to share what's on your site. Posting information about a death or funeral service solely for the purpose of gaining views or likes on social media demonstrates a lack of empathy and
Yeah.
exploits a sensitive and personal event.
Yes.
I I would love to underscore that. It demonstrates a lack of empathy.
Yes. I mean, you you have to put yourself again, this person that's grieving shoes.
Mhm.
It's a topic. It's a post to you, but it's a life altering change for them. And so some people are posting things to get the likes, to be the first to report the news, to get the I'm sorry for your loss. And that's sensationalism.
Yes.
Sensationalism. Again, let's talk about the airship. How is this impacting the bereaved spouse? How is this impacting the children, adult or minor children? How is this impacting the parents? How is this impacting the siblings? How is it impacting the best friends? How is it impacting the cousins? How is it impacting this person's work community? Right? And so just being thinking before you click, and
Yes.
just thinking of, are you going to do harm to someone with this post? Because once you put that post out there, that digital platform lives forever.
It does. It does. And there's especially when you think of very public figures,
Mm-hmm.
right, who pass away, and this has been happening since the dawn of time. Somebody disagrees with someone, and it will come to violence. We have so many examples of that in our own American history. And
Mm-hmm.
again, that's not the venue or the
Mm-hmm.
time to
Mm-hmm.
discuss whatever political,
There you
you
go.
know, disagreements there might be, social disagreements. I, you see people who in their normal lives, you know, would never go to someone's children and say the kind of things that they will put in a post about that parent because they differ politically or religiously or socially with that person, right? Most
You are
people wouldn't do
absolutely right.
that.
Yeah.
But when we separate ourselves from that clique,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when we dehumanize somebody in that way just to raise our own personal platform,
Mm-hmm.
it's so hurtful, and it actually dehumanizes ourselves when we do
It
that.
does. It does. Because like you said, some of the things that are posted, it's just like, this could have been said in a conversation. You could have called me. But because you dehumanize yourself and this individual, now it takes away, it flows into sensationalism, and it takes away, it reduces your level of empathy. It reduces the level of grace that you have for this family and this individual. And so just just being just being genuine, be authentic. Think about what you would do if you were on the other side, if you were sitting in that seat.
Right. And maybe it's an opportunity to look in the mirror and say, what is
Mm-hmm.
wrong with me that I would use the opportunity of a person's death to
Mm-hmm.
advance my own political, religious, social ideology?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
what's wrong with me that I would use a platform in that way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So um I think these conversations right here will help guide the public with some type of norms. And again, the norms will vary by communities. The
Yeah.
norms will vary by faith based communities, states, cities, rural areas. And
Right.
so just understanding what the norms are. But this platform is sharing a broad range of norms, and then they're more personalized per community.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, can you share an example or two of social media that you have seen actually enhance a family's ability to grieve?
Yes, absolutely. I have seen where social media, um, going back to COVID, when the family couldn't be together, social media played such a crucial role in helping the family grieve and helping them be together, like with a communal aspect. I couldn't physically be here, but the live streaming with the different platforms and being able to go online to the different um, website portals to share memories on obituary websites, to be able to celebrate a loved one's life virtually. Now I'm able to share these memories with pictorial and video tributes. I am now able to share a platform. Mom is no longer here. I can plant a tree in her honor. I can do that. I can have all of this live stream and I can be there even though I physically cannot be there in person. And so social media, um, we've heard from so many families during times to where they couldn't physically be present, and how they just had that opportunity that one last time to do that viewing via live streaming, to
Right.
see their Aunt Susie, who they haven't seen in 30 years, at the
Right.
service, and to talk to her. When my aunt passed away, and this was post COVID, my other aunt was in her late 70s, so she don't travel a lot.
Mhm.
And so she was in Arizona and the service was here in Milwaukee. And so we were able to Zoom her in,
Mhm.
and we had her on the program,
I
and
love
she was
that.
able to give remarks.
Yes, for her
And
sister.
her sister, and she was present. She was there.
I love
And
that.
we left, she was on the entire time. We had the Zoom on. She had her funeral attire on. She was dressed up just like she was there. She had flowers. And
Oh,
then when the family had repast at the funeral luncheon, she dined as well.
oh, I
And so
love
she
that.
was able to take there and sit there. So she felt like she had been there with us the entire time. And
Right.
so those are the type of platforms when we talk about digital platforms and social media. Again, it's a tool. And so whenever you have a tool, there needs to be norms created to effectively utilize the tool and to get as many positive benefits that we can with the tools.
I absolutely love that example. I hope that that's something that sticks in people's minds. I love the idea that your aunt would have attended the funeral
Yes.
the way she did. That is just beautiful. What a wonderful way for her to feel connected to the rest of you. I love
Yes.
that, and I love the idea of the live streaming.
Yes.
My husband passed away in 2021, so it was during COVID, but we happened to live
Mhm.
very close to Idaho. So we live in Washington, where the there were just more stringent restrictions, and in Idaho, where he actually worked, they were actually at that point able to gather, and
Oh,
so
okay.
we were able to have. It was a huge funeral. There were 700 people there. He
Oh
was
my God.
so loved.
Wow.
But we used YouTube, and
Yes.
we did the live stream YouTube, and I know that that was really helpful for those who weren't able to travel, or it was still during COVID, so some people were vulnerable, and it wouldn't have been
Right.
safe for them to be there with all those people. So I love
Oh,
that, but
beautiful.
I love the example that you gave. I can just see
Thank
her.
you.
It hadn't occurred to me to have flowers there.
Yeah.
That's just lovely.
Yeah. She
I
was a
love
part of the
that.
entire process.
Oh, it's wonderful. And that must have been such a special, sweet experience for her.
Yes. Yes, it was.
Well, Dr. Clarke, this has been such a wonderful conversation. I wish we lived down the street with each other, because I would just love to continue and talk more.
Well,
What
thank you so much.
what you're doing, the work that you do, is really, really special and important. And
Thank you.
I am grateful that there are people who are spending their most difficult and intimate times of their lives with somebody like you. Thank you for the work you do.
That means so much. And for individuals that would like to get more information, the NFDA has an amazing um, resource, rememberingalife.com. And you can just
Thank
go to
you.
rememberingalife.com. And
Hey,
NFDA, this is the consumer facing platforms that individuals it'll help them with trusted tools, grief guides, journey cards,
oh, I love
and
that.
activities that will support adults and children.
Thank you for that resource. I appreciate that.
You are
Well,
totally welcome. And thank you so much for having me.
oh, it's been a pleasure. So, final question.
Yes.
What do you think it means to grieve well?
I think it means to grieve well, to have a support system. I think understanding that social media, whether wanting or unwanting, will play a role in your grief process, and understanding that you make sure that you designate a family spokesperson and just have that person to anticipate things that will help your journey. things that can hurt your journey, because they are there, and we're just not going to get away from social media. And so I always say, if you can't beat it, you do what? You join it.
That's right.
and and understand that it is a powerful tool that can help your journey. And so making sure you have this in your toolbox, but also being a good steward to other people who are grieving as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.